Now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Unity Mini Choir. It's especially good that we call it a mini choir today because we are singing a song about fairies. This song is called The Fairy of Mystery Blue. Right, it was just written, finished last week.
Is not only a talented leader of this amazing band, but also a composer, and we hope that you'll stay after and look at many of his CDs, one of which just came out recently. So Richard, thank you so much. And thank you to that choir, that springtime choir, for sharing your fairy energy with us this morning. That's beautiful. Welcome to the love and light of unity of the Blue Ridge. It is wonderful to have all of you here today, to be here to support each other as we grow on our spiritual journey together. And as we remind ourselves who we really are and what we're really about. And so let's do that now by saying our affirmation together. There is only one presence and power active in the universe and in my life, God the good, omnipotence. And our mission together as a community. We are an inclusive, inspiring, spiritual community, embracing our divinity and joyfully evolving together. And with that, I'd like to invite you into a time of prayer. As we feel the rain softly coming to the earth, nourishing all of the flowers that are blooming, we arrive and open ourselves, our hearts and our minds, to receive the nourishment that's here for us, to let the Spirit gently soak into us so that we also can bloom and grow. We offer thanksgiving that we are here today, that we are well enough to be out of bed, to be present. And so we thank you. Thank you, God, for all the blessings that this place and this day and this life have. We welcome them. Amen.
I ask you to all stand
and join me in this congregational song, This Joy That I Have. This love that I have, the world didn't give it to me. Oh, this love that I have, the world didn't give it to me. This love that I have, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it and the world didn't take it away. Oh, this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. Oh, this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. Oh, this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it and the world didn't take it away. Oh, this peace that I have, world didn't give it to me. Oh, this peace that I have. Oh, this peace that I have, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it and the world didn't take it away. This dance that I have, the world didn't give it to me. Oh, this dance that I have, the world didn't give it to me. Oh, this dance that I have, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it and the world didn't take it away. The world didn't give it and the world didn't take it away. Woo! Turn to your neighbor and wish them a namaste and a happy Sunday. Namaste, namaste. of your peace, of your peace, of your peace. Lord, make me an instrument of your love. Lord, make me an instrument of your love. Lord, make me an instrument of your love, of your love, of your love, of your love, of your love. Lord, make me an instrument of your life. Lord, make me an instrument of your life. Lord, make me an instrument of your life, of your life, of your life, of your life, of your life. Lord, make me an instrument of your joy. Lord, make me an instrument of your joy. Lord, make me an instrument of your joy, 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 of your joy.
Yeah. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. My name is Reverend Christy Corna, and it is my pleasure to serve here at Unity of the Blue Ridge. And I would like to welcome anyone who is new, anybody visiting for the first time or for the first time in a very long time, welcome. Welcome. You're going to be handed a blue card by one of our greeters and welcomers. And over here as well, welcome. Over here as well. Wow, awesome. Well, welcome, and we invite you to complete that blue card. We keep your information confidential, and you can drop it off just outside the bookstore. You'll see a little place that has a pamphlet, envelope rather, that has a whole bunch of information about our community. And certainly, if you have any questions, please see me following the service today, and I'm happy to have a conversation with you. And we would like to welcome you, and we do that by showering a blessing upon you. So let us open our hearts, rub our hands together, send out this love by saying, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divinity in you. Thank you for joining us today, and please come back and share with us again. I would like to share with you some events happening here. And I'm going to move through these rather quickly. Please check out our website. It is constantly being updated with information. And if you're not on our weekly e-news, there's a place to sign up out in the foyer, out in the lobby, and we'll get you on that. It comes out every Thursday, most often. Just want to remind folks to please turn off your cell phones rather than just silence it. If you can turn them completely off, that will help us out during our service. We appreciate that. And as you noticed when you walked in, there's cake and lemonade and a table displaying our talented music director, Richard Schulman's CDs. And he has just released a CD, as Laura mentioned. Ah, there it is. Thank you, Andy. Turned Into Lemonade. If my life had a theme song, that would be it. Turned Into Lemonade. And so please take your time to look at his gifts available to us and have some cake. And it's all part of that spiritual teaching that says, yes, you can have your cake and eat it too. And there's also celery available, which I love too. And so also, we have had the pleasure of having Mark Ehrlichs, who is an author and a spiritual healing practitioner, here with us this weekend. Friday evening was a healing circle. Saturday was a workshop. He's staying in town for a couple more days. If you would like more information on the work that he does and his availability, please see him. Mark, can you please stand? Thank you, Mark. Thank you for joining us all the way from Chicago. And now, Tuesday evening, Pam and Charlie Rogers, are they still here? They were here at the first service. Pam and Charlie Rogers are offering a class, Moments of Truth, Tuesday evening, 6:30 to 8:30, and it's a wonderful opportunity to come together to learn how to have those very deep and meaningful conversations, those conversations that really bridge the seeming distance, the seeming differences with one another. So it's an opportunity to come together. It's given on a love offering basis. They go around the community. They teach this class at many, many spiritual organizations around and in other organizations around the area. So join us for that, if that so calls you. Feed the Kids Coalition. I know that Jerry Connolly is in the room. I hugged her, so I know she's in the room. There she is. Yay, Jerry, thank you. Thank you for doing this outreach. Every 8 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks or so, we team up with Feed the Kids Coalition in Hendersonville, Henderson County, where organizations come together, and we feed children at the Boys and Girls Club. So there are opportunities to volunteer. We come here on Friday. It's Friday the 20th. If you'd like to volunteer, please see Jerry following today's service. We come here and we cook. There are volunteers that transport the food, and then there are volunteers that serve over at the Boys and Girls Club in Hendersonville. So thank you, Jerry, for heading that up. Discover Unity. If you are new to Unity and would like to learn more about Unity, Reverend Darlene is offering a class on Wednesday the 25th, 6:30 to 8:30. It's an opportunity to come together to learn more about Unity, its foundations, this community, a little time for Q&A, and it's a wonderful opportunity to meet others that are part of this community. So we invite you to attend that. Then we have an informational meeting for our youth program, and Reverend Laura Collins will have that. That is happening at 11 a.m. on Sunday the 29th. If you are a parent, grandparent, guardian, know folks that have children that would like to enjoy our youth program, this informational meeting is just letting you know how we are moving forward with our youth program. If you have any questions, please see Reverend Laura. And then we have Greg Lavoie, who is an author and teacher, coming here Sunday, May 6th. He will be our guest speaker and then offering his workshop, The Call to Passion, which is about living the life of our dreams. And sign-up sheets are available out in the lobby for that as well. And then May 10th through the 13th, Reverend Darlene is bringing Our Love is Power to Unity Village for a 3-day retreat. And if you would like to participate in that, registration is online. Just go to our website on the homepage. You'll see the link for that, and you'll get all the information. It's going to be a wonderful time to come together in love, in the spirit of love, and in the spirit of spiritual teachings. And if you are traveling from this community and want to know others who are traveling from this community, so you may see if you can hook up and travel together, just please let me know and we can put you in touch with one another. So you would see me directly for that. And I believe with that, we are aware. Although one thing I did want to say is Reverend Darlene is away this weekend. Her father is celebrating his 80th birthday, so she is celebrating this weekend with friends. So let's just send her a lot of love and celebration for her and her family. And now it is my delight to introduce Reverend Andy Carlson for inspirational reading.
Thank you, Rev Christie. Reverend Darlene has it right when she says you're the glue that holds us together. So I also want to make a shout out to our mini choir. They may be a mini choir, but they're not mini talented. Thank you, thank you. The reading for this morning is from the Buddhist writer Pema Chodron, and it's from the book called The Places That Scare You. The Places That Scare You. It goes like this. I feel gratitude to the Buddha for pointing out that what we struggle against all our lives can be acknowledged as ordinary experience. Life does not continuously go up and down. Excuse me. Life does continuously go up and down. Life does continuously go up and down. People and situations are unpredictable, and so is everything else. Everybody knows the pain of getting what we don't want. Saints and sinners, winners and losers. I feel gratitude that someone saw the truth and pointed out that we don't suffer this kind of pain because of our personal inability to get things right. That nothing is static or fixed, that all is fleeting and impermanent, is the first mark of existence. It is the ordinary state of affairs. Everything is in process. Everything. Every tree, every blade of grass, all the animals, insects, human beings, buildings, the animate and the inanimate, is always changing moment to moment. We don't have to be mystics or physicists to know this. Yet at the level of personal experience, we resist this basic fact. It means that life isn't always going to go our way. It means there's loss as well as gain. And we don't like it. We don't like it. Once I was changing jobs and houses at the same time. I felt insecure, uncertain, and groundless. Hoping that he would say something that would help me work these changes, I complained to my colleague and my friend, Buddhist teacher Trungpa Rinpoche, about having trouble with transitions. He looked at me sort of blankly and said, "We are always in transition, always in transition." And then he said, "If you can just relax with that, you'll have no problem."
No mud, no lotus. Haven't you noticed the patterns of the pain in your past? The things that broke you, they also woke you to the questions you needed to ask. The sleepless nights and the dizzying heights and the dreams, some of which came true. The tough breaks, heartaches, perfect mistakes created this version of you. And everything you go through grows you. Yeah, it grows you. And everything you go through grows you and exposes who you are. If it hurt, it made you softer. If it was hard, it fueled the hunger. If it touched you, your heart took hold. If it was simple, it made you wise. If it was sweet, it made you smile. It weaved an indelible inspection of your soul. Your feet that walk, your lips that talk, and your hands that dug around for proof that it is so. Every look, every book, picture in your mind that you took created this version of you. And everything you go through grows you. Yeah, it grows you. Yes, everything you go through, it grows you. Exposes the root of an endless summer, part-time temporary lover, and the swoon of the deep blue sky. In the glow of your own life, yes, your petals open wide. You bloom right where you are. And everything you go through, oh, it grows you. It grows you. Yes, everything you go through grows you and exposes who you are. No mud, no lotus. Haven't you noticed the patterns of the pain in your past? The things that broke you, they also woke you to the questions you needed to ask.
Thank you, Cat Williams. That was a beautiful rendition of Bob's song, No Mud, No Lotus, and I appreciate you singing that for us this week. And thank you to this amazing band that we get to enjoy every week here at Unity of the Blue Ridge. The year I turned 29, I was a minister at a large, active urban congregation, and I was engaged to be married. Graduate school was behind me, and my career was off to a great start, and a wedding was in my future. Everything was going just as I expected. And then a depression fell on me, like a heavy, dark curtain falling in a theater in the middle of the show. I forced myself to get out of bed and make it to work in the weeks leading up to my vacation, thinking, if I can just hold on till then I can rest, and then I'll be fine. By the time I arrived at my parents' house in Black Mountain for my vacation, I curled up on the floor of the guest bedroom and couldn't stop crying. After a few days, my father came and sat next to me on the floor, next to this fetal heap that I had become, and he put it to me plainly. He said, Laura, either you get some medication today, or I'm going to have you committed. He was a little heavy-handed. I called the woman that I had just started seeing as a therapist just a few weeks before, and the idea of taking an antidepressant scared the hell out of me. At that point in my life, I'd never had any drugs other than penicillin and rarely even an Advil. but the idea of being committed scared me a little more. The next week, I tried to go back to work before admitting defeat. The personnel committee at the church kindly told me to take a month off. In the months before my breakdown, I didn't sleep at all. After I started on medication, I slept for a month. I would wander out of my bedroom from time to time, and I would get to the kitchen, and I'd lean against the wall, and I'd fall down to the floor, and I'd stare at the stove, and I would think, why did I get up? There was a beautiful Western New York summer happening outside that I didn't notice. Occasionally, friends would stop by to make sure that I was eating or to drag me into the sunshine. The best visits were the ones where they said very little. They just handed me food or drove me to Lake Ontario and let me just sit and stare at the water for a while. I tell you this story because I know that I am not alone in this room and having experienced a clinical depression. And even those of you who have not experienced depression have certainly experienced difficulty. Your own trauma, your own hard emotions, heartbreak, abuse, or maybe a loss that you believed would be the end of you. I've since worked as a hospice chaplain and a hospital trauma chaplain, and I've worked with women in prostitutions and with men coming out of maximum security prisons. I've worked with typical adolescents and middle-aged professionals in very poor churches and in very affluent churches. And here's what I've learned about life. Sometimes it hurts. Sometimes it hurts more than you think you can bear. I also share this story with you to let you know what was helpful for me and what I've learned through years of ministry and friendship about what's helpful for others. When I was depressed, here's what helped me: medication, therapy, parents who cared from a distance but didn't hover, a personnel committee who told me to take a month off and not to ever call the church during that month, friends who attended to me without expecting anything from me, no conversation, no forced smiles, nothing. And I share this story with you to let you know what would not have been helpful for me. Being told to think more positive thoughts. Being asked what I did to attract this circumstance to me. What I thought God wanted me to learn. Being told that my depression wasn't real. Being told that any of the things that I was using to desperately claw my way out of that dark hole were bad for me. Being expected to know that things would get better. If I had known that things would get better, I wouldn't have been in a clinical depression. And I tell you this story as we move into a 10-week series on sacred intentions. Darlene gave me the list of sacred intentions and, said that I could choose which one I wanted to speak on this week while she was gone. And one of the possibilities was stay positive. And I looked at her and I said, I'm not going to talk about that one. But I would like to talk about the dark side of always being expected to stay positive. Now, I am a firm believer in affirmative prayer. I could not engage honestly with this congregation, much less be one of your ministers, if I did not believe in this basic unity principle. I not only believe it, I practice it, I trust it. It's one that drew me into unity. I know from personal experience and this experience of people around me, the miracles that can happen when we really know and trust that God is greater than every circumstance we can face. I don't just believe this. I know this. And I've also learned that we can feel guilt and shame by the demand to think positively, just as we can by being told that we're sinners. Because when you're deeply traumatized or ill or gravely grieving, being told that all you need to do is change your thoughts can depress you even more. It can burden us with a shame that we aren't feeling good enough in the midst of our issues. It can layer a sense of unworthiness over our pain, making us feel as if we don't deserve for things to get better. There is a way of expressing these metaphysical truths to someone who's experiencing trauma or deep grief that can even be sort of cruel, even though that's the farthest thing from our intentions. How do we hold and trust and know that God is in us and is able to do all things through us? And at the same time, acknowledge that there are times in our life when we don't have access to that. It may still exist in us somewhere, but we just can't get there. This is one of those deep paradoxes of life and of faith. It's like the yin-yang, the dark and the light intertwining, the dot of light in the midst of dark, the dot of the dark in the midst of the light. We can believe that we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us, and we can't even get out of bed. Have any of you ever been there? Mm-hmm. Or you love someone who's been there? It's a hard, hard place to be. But it happens. And when we can't admit that it happens, we can begin to spiral down into that guilt and shame in addition to whatever else is going on. If I just had more faith, I wouldn't feel this way. If I didn't think bad thoughts, this wouldn't have happened to me. If I were better at prayer, my loved one wouldn't be suffering like this. If I really trusted God, I would be healthier or happier or have a better job or a better relationship. Or if I could just say the right affirmation with all my heart, I know my life would be better. I must be a fraud. Or a hypocrite. I bet everyone can see right through me. Or maybe we turn it around and say, all of those positive, thinking, happy people, they are full of it. They are either hypocrites or liars or in deep denial about reality. So I'd like to invite us to be really authentic with each other. Let's be vulnerable enough to say, sometimes life is hard. Let's stay true to what's really happening right in this moment. Or, as comedian Mindy Kaling puts it, if I'm going to be a mess, I might as well be a hot mess. Glennon Doyle is a spiritual author and philanthropist known for her authentic admissions of her neurotic inner life, which she holds side by side with her hardcore faith. Much of her writing is very upbeat, and recently someone responded to one of her Instagram posts and said, "How do you always stay so positive?" And she said, without missing a beat, "Jesus loves me, this I know, for he gives me Lexapro." Hashtag keeping it real. That summer that I dropped into my depression was not actually the worst period of my life. That came about 15 years later, when my marriage and my career imploded, and with them my reputation, my finances, my sense of call, my self-understanding, my confidence. I was in a new city, I was unemployed, I had no friends, no community. My faith was still strong, but without a community to hold it with me, I often felt adrift in its sea. I'd been practicing different types of meditation and prayer for over 30 years at that point, and I found that in that phase of my life, my primary hope came from two Buddhist teachers that I had on my bookshelf, particularly from Pema Chodron that Andy read from earlier, and also from Sharon Salzberg. I'd been fortunate enough to sit with and meet both of these women in the prior decade, and their writings reminded me of two Buddhist principles. One is impermanence. Everything changes all the time. Nothing stays the same. Our bodies, our relationships, our health, the earth. Much of our suffering comes from our desire to hang on to the way things have been. And the other principle that saved me during that time was Maitri, a Sanskrit word that means in English loving kindness or unconditional kindness. Both these Buddhist teachers reminded me that this practice of loving kindness must start first with ourselves. Now, I know some of you here have experienced going on a silent retreat and finding that there is nothing in the world noisier than the inside of your own head. When you sink into that silence and unplug from all the distractions, it can be incredibly unsettling to discover just how crazy you really are. And that's where the practice of loving kindness comes in. We notice all the crazy, and we watch it from a slight distance with non-judgment and compassion. Much of the reason that we sit in silence and we learn to meditate is to become more familiar with ourselves, with the busy thoughts that are continually flitting through our minds, with the fears that surprise us, with those anxieties that we desperately try to push out of the way. In meditation, we learn to practice loving kindness, first on ourselves. We begin to practice radical self-acceptance. Now, if you've tried this, you probably know that self-compassion doesn't always come easily. Those voices of judgment are loud and proud. They are righteous, and they are sure of themselves. Those voices are used to having a prime seat at the table, and they're not going to move to the back of the room without a fight. So we're planting all these seeds of non-judgment and compassion and gentleness, and just watching all these weeds of judgment keep springing up. And our tendency at that moment is just to want to pull out all those weeds and start throwing them away. And I think Jesus might have been onto something when he said, just let the weeds and the wheat grow together. Because if we start focusing on all of those weeds, trying to pull them up, what are we focusing on? We're focusing on the weeds. So instead, there's this other practice, this different possibility of unconditional kindness. To simply notice our own swirling head space and then to observe it with gentleness. Because until we can accept all of these parts of ourselves, it's very hard to sit and really be with somebody else's pain. When we try to skip over this step and just force the negative thoughts to the side and fill up the space with only positive emotions, only positive thoughts, we miss this vital learning, this compassion and wisdom that come as we learn to accept every part of ourselves. Most of us would like to find an easier path to wisdom, self-included. In Christian lingo, we might call this trying to get to Easter without going through Holy Week. We all like the resurrection, not so much the crucifixion. Another name for it is spiritual bypass. Yeah, we just take that loop around the problem and hope that you arrive on the other side with all of the wisdom and none of the pain. In training for prayer chaplains in the Unity process, we call it metaphysical malpractice. When we are afraid to simply sit with the discomfort, and instead we try to hurry straight up that mountaintop of light and joy. When we do that, what does that say to the person sitting right in front of us? It says their feelings are not okay. Their experience of reality is not okay with us. Linda Martella-Whitsett, a Unity minister who's now the vice president of Silent Unity, tells a story in her book, How to Pray Without Talking to God, of her son Adrian. And once Adrian got out of his teen years, he came to his mom one day and he said, "I am never setting foot in a church again. I am so tired of people trying to fix me." And she was really surprised because this is a kid who grew up in Unity from day one. But when I read that, I could resonate a little bit with it. Because if you're constantly being told that your thoughts create your reality, and your reality is not exactly what you wish it were, then people are trying to tell you how to change your thoughts, and then every time you have a negative thought or a bad feeling, you feel like you need to be fixed. So, what am I suggesting here? Am I suggesting that the third unity principle is hogwash? Do you remember the third unity principle? God is, we are, think it. Or we are co-creators with God of our thoughts and experiences, or our thoughts create our experiences. So am I suggesting that this is kind of a load? No, I am not at all. I believe it. I know it. I have lived it. One of my favorite scriptures since childhood has been Philippians 4:8. Finally, friends, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is lovely, whatever is pure, whatever is gracious, if there's any excellence, if there's anything worthy of praise, think about these things. Lift your mind up to these things, to that higher place. Yeah, I can be the queen of reframe. Yesterday, gorgeous day outside, I think. I was inside doing my taxes. I was inside giving thanks that I have a job and income and that I get to pay taxes. So no, it is important to focus on the good. But what I am suggesting is this. This principle, like all truths, when it's taken as a rigid rule, can become damaging. It can lead us to ignore realities that we just don't want to face. Next week, a new monument opens up in Birmingham, Alabama. It is the Memorial for Peace and Justice. Some of you may have seen it on 60 Minutes this week when Oprah interviewed Brian Stevenson, who is the author of Just Mercy and the executive director of the Equal Justice Institute. This haunting monument is made up of hundreds of steel sculptures hanging in a square that you can walk through. And it's a monument to all the lynchings of African Americans in this country. 4,400 men, women, and children were hung, burned to death, drowned, beaten by white mobs between 1877 and 1950. Those are the ones we have records of. Could thinking good thoughts have changed their circumstances? Or if 1950 seems too far away, too long ago, yesterday our nation bombed Syria. Or if Syria seems too far away, yesterday the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency rounded up 12 individuals in Henderson County and Buncombe County and threw them into unknown and unnamed jails where they have no access to legal services, took them away from their families to deport them. Sometimes it's not just thinking good thoughts. Later in her book, Martella Whitsitt confronts this problem, and she says, "We would not indict a soldier whose limbs were blown off in war, suggesting he drew this condition to him by the law of attraction. We would not offer such explanations because they would crush somebody already suffering." Because they would crush somebody already suffering. Compassion demands of us that we hear each other's pain. Kindness requires of us that we honor the truth of each other's lives. Justice demands that we love those bodies that are at risk. So how do we hold both the truth of the ways in which our thoughts do create our experiences, this truth, and the truth of unjust systems that create real harm and events that do lead to deep trauma? Let me take you back for a moment to that summer of my depression. I was fortunate in that I never felt suicidal. The idea of killing myself just seemed like it would take way too much energy. But there were days when I would just lie on my futon thinking, why am I still alive? One night I woke up to an intense silence. The air seemed quieter than usual. As I lay heavily on my back, pinned down by the centrifugal force of my unnameable grief, prayer seemed as unimaginable to me as laughter. But I managed to eke out this small wish. Please just let me go to sleep and not wake up. Almost as soon as those words formed in my mind, the room came alive. Now, you might say that what happened next was a dream or a hallucination or a side effect of the drugs. But here's what I know happened. Prayers came to me. Other people's prayers. They appeared like tiny sparkling lights moving through the air in that room, circling my bed, gently pulsing love. Every prayer that had ever been uttered on my behalf, the hundreds from my mother and father, all the Sunday school teachers of my childhood, my youth group in high school, the people that I had attended Quaker meeting with, my now dead grandmothers, all of those prayers came to me in that room, alive, visible, blinking at me, pulsing love. They asked nothing of me. There were no words. But when I woke the next day, I knew that I was okay. It took several more months of therapy and drugs for me to get completely out from under the depression. But in that moment, I knew that I was healed. I'd like to invite the band to come forward. There's an author by the name of Barbara Brown Taylor, and she has written a number of books, and she's been on the cover of Time magazine as one of the most influential people of 2014 rather. And she writes in her book, if I can find it, about her experience of coming late to understanding her body was loved by God. I think I'm missing a page. She says, I came late to the understanding that God loved all of me. Not just my spirit, but also my flesh. Like many young people raised in the 50s, I grew up with lots of questions and unearned shame about my ripening body, which was not ripening in the way of the bodies that I saw on all the movie posters. When understanding finally came, the first thing I understood was that it is not possible to trust that God loved all of me, including my body, without trusting that God loved the bodies of all people everywhere. God loved the bodies of hungry children and indentured women, along with the bodies of sleek athletes and cigar-smoking tycoons. While we might not have one other thing in common, we all wore skin. We had breath and beating hearts. One of the truer things about bodies, she goes on, is that it is just about impossible to increase the reverence I have for my own without increasing the reverence that I show yours. Wearing my skin is not a solitary practice, but one that brings me into communion with all these other embodied souls. In Christian teaching, followers of Jesus are called to honor the bodies of our neighbors as we honor our own. So in that same chapter, Taylor offers a suggestion. She says that we should, from time to time, pray naked in front of a full-length mirror. Especially when you feel full of loathing for your body. When you feel too old or too ill or too scarred or too something. She says we should drop our clothes, look in the mirror, and say, "Here I am. This is this body like no other that my life has shaped. I live here. This is my soul's address." So I invite all of you to do that this week. I'm going to check in with you next week, Kat, see how that went. Pray naked in front of a full-length mirror and practice radical self-compassion as you do so. Notice without judgment all the voices that come to you. Be gentle and kind with yourself. Remember that every part of you is imbued with the glory of God. Not just the parts you like, but all of you. Not just the emotions that feel good, but all of them. Staying true is not about us rising up to some spiritual place, but spirit getting grounded right here in these bodies, these ragged bodies and these gorgeous bodies. And these crazy brains, and these wise brains, and these joyous feelings, and in these frightening feelings. God is in all of it. Nothing is outside the embrace of God. In Romans, Paul wrote, "For I am convinced that neither death nor life, nor the present, nor past, nor angels, nor principalities, nor height, nor depth, nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God." Nothing. Not our crazy minds, not our grief or our anger, not the injustice that we suffer or the abuse that we endure, not the depression or the anxiety, not the mistakes we make or the days we waste. Nothing. Nothing. No thing can separate us from the love of God.
I lay it down, I set it free, I let my heart rest, I let it be, I lay it down, I set it free, I lay it down on the altar of love.
Sing it.
I lay it down. I set it free. I let my heart rest. I let it be. I lay it down. I set it free. I lay it down on the altar of love.
So take a moment and close your eyes. What is it you need to lay down? What part of you needs to be set free? Whatever it is, lay it down. Lay it down on the altar of love. And in that space of opening and letting go, I invite you to bring to mind anyone that's asked you to pray for them. And just say their names and place them on the altar of love. And now say your own name. Laura. Set it free.
I lay it down, set it free. I let my heart rest. I let it be. I lay it down. I set it free. I lay it down on the altar of love. I lay it down, set it free. I let my heart rest. stand and sing with me, please. I lay it down. I set it free. I let my heart rest. I let it be. I lay it down. I set it free. I lay it down on the altar of love. I lay it down on the altar of love. I lay it down on the altar of love.
Thank you. Thank you, Reverend Laura, for that very real message. And the message that when you meet love, wherever it's at, however it's showing up, if you meet love with love, life can be transformed. So thank you for that reminder and that gift. It reminds me of the community. When you mentioned community and us coming together, one of my favorite quotes is from a colleague of mine that said many years ago, "When I can know for you what you do not yet know for yourself, then I become the bridge for your transformation." That's what community does. So thank you for that powerful message. And now is the time in our service where we prepare for our tithes and offerings, our gifts to this community, so that Unity of the Blue Ridge as a community can continue its ministry and be that beacon of light out into the world and share that message of love. And I call our ushers forward. And in preparation of our gifts, let us repeat this blessing together aloud. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I am. I am now in perfect balance and flow with the universal tides of giving and receiving. Thank you, God. So it is.
Am I strong enough to bear the burden that sometimes come with living this thing called life? Am I wise enough to make the right decisions when I'm standing at the fork in the road? Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize I'm not alone and there's nothing I have to do on my own, because I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. Will I have enough to do the things I need to do to take care of myself? Will I have the health of mind and body to live a life of grace and wholeness? Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize I'm not alone and there's nothing I have to do on my own, because I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. Sing it soft. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place. You are the place. We are the place where God shows up. I am the place. You are the place. We are the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. Yeah.
Let's hear it for this amazing band. We have Dave, Richard, Joel, Pete, and the amazing Cat Williams.
Don't forget Dave.
Huh? I said Dave first. Number one. And I want to thank our amazing Unity choral group. That was just beautiful. And Richard, your song, thank you. And I invite our ushers to come forward, and also we have our prayer chaplain coming forward with our prayer box. And this prayer box is always available outside of our bookstore. You can write a prayer request in that, and then it gets picked up by our prayer chaplains and ministerial team, and we hold that in prayer, and we also forward it on to Silent Unity that holds your request in prayer 24/7 for a whole month, for 30 days. So please make use of that. We also have prayer chaplains available out this door right across the hall. If you would like to be supported in prayer following our service, that is open to you as well. Now let us say a blessing upon these gifts. So in gratitude for that divine presence, that power of life, that infinite givingness of spirit showing up as these gifts, showing up as this community, unity of the Blue Ridge, showing up as each and every one of us that shines our light and lets that infinite presence of God express fully and completely through us, so that this world is uplifted and blessed. We give thanks for these gifts, for the mission of Unity of the Blue Ridge, for who we are and the blessings that we bring. We are blessed. We are a blessing. We give thanks. We let it go. We let it be. And so it is. Amen. And let us stand and close with a peace song.
There be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. When God is creator, brothers and sisters are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. With me, let this be the moment now. With every breath I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Yeah, we do it. You already started it. I can get the Eddie one. in the room. Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize I'm not alone and there's nothing I have to do on my own, because I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has his being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. Where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place, you are the place, we are the place where God shows up. Where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up.